We're live. Hey, everybody. Come on in. We are live. Time to let some folks just come on in. You'll be able to get in through my Facebook page, my business Facebook page, The Grapes Unwrapped, my YouTube page, which is Hank Zona and The Grapes Unwrapped. They are all public, so everyone is welcome to join in. All right, and I'm getting a phone call. Hello. Just go to my Facebook page, and it should say that I'm live streaming. Yeah, so pop right on in. All right.
I'll text you back.
Okay, thanks. Bye. All right. We'll let folks start to meander in here. Okay, now people are coming in, right? We do have a little bit of a delay on this, just so you know, between Facebook and we're up to 14. Let's keep them rolling. Fantastic. Now you're finding your way. Good. Welcome, everybody. Banner is working. Let me open my comments. Cool. I got my first comment from Billy Fishkin. Hello, Billy. Hello, Joyce. How y'all doing? All right. So you see a little bit of a scroll there. Once we get more folks here, I see the numbers are starting to mount. This is good. We're expecting, I think the average size group of people who are participating is around 4 or 5 people. So we should have, hey, Mark, we should have probably over 200 people tuning in, which is pretty cool. So thank you. I have my all access Maplewoodstock pass here. So ready to roll with that. And okay, I am going to, so you see there's a scroll on the bottom, and just do, I'm going to do a little business first, and then we're going to get started. And by all means, no need to wait to drink, even though we're going to do the wines in a certain order. I'm going to talk about them in a certain order. I'm going to start with the white wine. We're going to go to the Italian red and then the California red. In that order, we're going to talk about it. You don't have to feel obligated to open all 3 bottles. You can pick whatever one you want. You don't feel obligated to wait for me, and you certainly don't have to feel obligated to not open all 3 if that's what you want to do. So that's where we're at. This is my May, June, July. This is my 5th monthly community virtual wine tasting. Today would have been the Saturday of the rescheduled Maplewoodstock. And so I decided that they'd be a great group to partner with. Maplewoodstock, needless to say, is a beloved community institution. It also feeds our creativity and feeds our souls. And, anyone who's participating here is, of course, incredibly mindful of all the bad things that are happening in the world right now, and that makes us human. But as I said at another one of these events recently, by appropriately pursuing our passions and feeding them and being with people maintains our humanity. And it's just as important to be human and to maintain that humanity right now. So that's what we're doing. And I think of everything that feeds this community, it might be music more than anything that keeps people really happy and keeps people kind of plugged in. So Maplewoodstock did incur costs this year, and we're trying to help them defray some of those costs because the event did not come off. This way, when they start planning for 2021, they can actually hit the ground running, and it could be bigger and better than ever. I'm going to bring Jamie Ross in here in just a moment. We're going to talk a little bit about Maplewoodstock. But before we do that, you'll see on the scroll, I do not get paid for this. So I have a Venmo. It's at Hank Zona. If you like what I'm doing, feel free to contribute. Whatever you contribute to my Venmo, I will split 50-50 with Maplewoodstock. You also will see on the bottom, there's Maplewoodstock merch for sale. I'm going to have Jamie come in and talk about that. You also see on that scroll my phone number. Last time people texted me, they called me. By all means, I am happy if you want to do that again. So 917-414-8957. I will try to take calls, and I certainly will try to respond to your texts and your questions. Once I pick up my phone, I'll be right back. Okay, I am back. And before I bring Jamie in, I've got one more public service announcement. I'm not here to show off my guns. Got a flu shot today. You all need to do it too. Wherever you go, get it. Care about yourself, care about everybody else around you. Go get one. Cool. All right, Jamie, I'm cutting you in now. Unmute yourself.
Okay, all right.
Hey
everyone.
Jamie Roth of the Maplewoodstock Committee.
Yes, we are. I believe
high-minded people.
We're a 9-person all volunteer committee. So every dollar we make goes right into the event. Nothing's wasted. Just want to show you a few things that we have on the site.
Show it to me.
Scrolling at the bottom there. One, we came up with a shirt. I think probably most of you have seen it. You know, since we couldn't have the show this year, at least we're showing that the stage is still up and ready for future years. And we also have a face mask. So let me just show you how this looks.
Oh, that looks good on you, Jamie.
Yeah. So you can see the prices scrolling at the bottom. You can go to maplewoodstock.com/merch. And also a lovely, mine's a little beat up. I use this every day, but it's an amazing thermos, high quality thermos. And that's also you can get on our merch page. So yeah, I think that covers our bases, and I'm ready to hear more about the wine. I've already started, Hank.
Excellent. Okay, someone told me I've got an echo going here, so when you talk, so mute yourself, Jamie, and I'll bring you back in a bit. Okay.
Sounds good. Thanks.
All right. All right, I'm back. Jamie, as you can see, started, and that's his preferred way of drinking. Crystal, how's that now? Are we echoing? Maybe next time I have Jamie speak, I'll actually mute myself, and then he can he can cut back in and talk. So let's see how that goes. Sound is okay, folks? If someone can type in a message just so I know. Okay. Anyway, first wine. One of the things I tried to do is create a little bit of a theme with the wines, and of course, Maplewoodstock is primarily a music and arts festival, but it really is a music festival. And I thought this would be kind of a fun wine to start with. Slow down wines, slow jams. If there's anybody tuning in who wasn't quite aware of what these things are on the label, maybe perhaps I don't know. Maybe you're not in the right age bracket. Someone should card them. So Slow Jams is from Slow Down Wines, and that's SLO. This is it's a California winemaker. It's a great story. This wine is the grapes are from Washington, and it's 95% Sauvignon Blanc, 5% Marsanne, just to give it a little richness. This just really big mouthful of a really nice grapefruit flavor and real minerality here. I really like this wine. The owner of Slow Down Wines, and SLO stands for San Luis Obispo, is Brandon Allen. And Brandon, after a trip to some wineries while in college, he and his friends decided that they were going to make some wine. None of them were legal drinking age, and they said, hey, we can make some wine for ourselves, have something to drink, and even better yet, we can sell some of it off. So they made a barrel of wine and had a lot of fun. They made 2 and 3 the next year. By senior year, Brandon took $8,000 of his student loan money, dropped out, and made 93 cases of wine. and took off from there. He's hysterical. It's funny, but his wines are really good. So even though it's a little campy, the winemaking is not. If you've seen that label, you'll notice that he actually has his phone number on the back label, and that is his phone number. And he does tell people, call him, and he gets 5 to 10 phone calls a day, and he will actually answer them and talk to you if he's able to pick up the phone. So pretty cool marketing. He also does a rosé, which I thought was fantastic this year, called Send Nudes, with his phone number again, even though I think, again, that was just to call him. And the thing I like about that is if you can see that, it says beauty lies within. I mean, this is not a cheap, gimmicky wine. This is not a John Legend wine. This is not a Sarah Jessica Parker wine. This is an incredibly well-made wine. It's Sonoma Coast Pinot Noir Rosé. So, and then I almost went with another one of his wines for tonight. One of our favorite movie bands of all time, some of you will know the reference, Sexual Chocolate. His Sexual Chocolate wine is a Syrah Zinfandel blend. That's pretty amazing. Maybe we'll do it another time. Jean Marie is saying that I should actually call him. And hello, Morris, how are you? Okay, Jean Marie, I'm going to try to call him. Let's see if he'll answer the phone and come on board, okay? And let's see. Let's see if it works. And while I'm dialing, throw your questions up there on the screen. The other thing that I would, again, that I tell you, just go to the Maplewoodstock website. Try to buy some of that swag up so they don't have to carry it over to the next year. And let's see what his phone number is. 707-492-6365. We'll call him. We'll put him on speaker. Let's see if he answers. In the meantime, we're seeing if he answers the phone. If you take any pictures today, you post them on social media, you tag me, whether it's on Facebook or on Instagram, which you'll find me there under the Grapes Unwrapped.
Hi, you've reached Brandon's voicemail. Sorry I can't get to the phone right now. I'm probably doing something incredible. Please leave me a message, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. Thanks. I love you.
Hi, Brandon. This is Hank Zona in New Jersey, and we're doing a virtual wine event right now, and about 200 people are tasting your wine, and they asked me to call you. So we're doing something pretty cool right now, too. So far, the early feedback is we love your wine as well. We're going to be on the air till about 8 o'clock Eastern time. If you want to give me a call back at 917-414-8957, we'd love to talk to you. Thanks, Brandon. Thanks for making great wine, and thanks for your attitude about it. All right. Brandon's busy. He might be actually making wine right now. It's the season. So anyway, so what I do is I actually have a contest, and that contest is anyone who tags me, tags the event on social media. I do a drawing the next month of the names of the people who did it that previous month. So my October event, which was Take Me to Your Leader, we featured all leaders of wine, really good leaders of wine, which benefited the Our Lady of Sorrows food pantry. The folks that posted, I put their names in a bag. I am going to draw a name right now, and that person will get a bottle of wine from me. I do keep my word. And the winner is Alyssa Malaspina. Thank you, Alyssa. And thank you, Alyssa and Joe, who participate every month, who help out the causes that I try to pick every month as well, and who've actually been supporting my business since long before it was virtual, since they were actually in person. I do appreciate that, because I am not a bricks and mortar business, so sometimes you get kind of lost in conversations of local businesses, and but I am a local business, so thank you, and thanks for your support throughout the years, Alyssa and Joe. Excellent. And Lawrence Lipkin asks, does anyone make a Marsanne only wine? Yes, there are Marsanne onlys, but they're usually, you're going to find them in a blend with Marsanne and Roussanne. And it is a Southern French grape The wines tend to be richer, tend to have more tropical flavor to them. I think that they're going to be, they're really fantastic. I do some writing and a video series. I do a video series called Redrinking with Valerie Stivers, who is a collaborator, friend who writes a Paris Review food and literature column. And we've written a few columns for Food 52. And we started doing these videos called Redrinking, where we talk about cultural references in books, in literature, art, music. And we recently talked about a business in Australia where a woman actually pairs wines with astrological signs. And one of the wines that we picked for the video is a Marsan Roussan blend from Argentina, made up in the mountains of Argentina, called Vir Sacrum. That is just a beautiful, beautiful wine. So it kind of fit into our astrological tasting, but it's going to appear in another video soon. That's all I'll tell you. And those videos are up on my YouTube channel. That's Hank Zona and the Grapes Unwrapped. So anyway, back to this wine. I like this wine a lot. Smells like Sauvignon Blanc, but it's not overly grassy. It's not overly sharp like a lot of the New Zealand varieties are right now. And definitely has that grapefruity, that citrusy taste there. But again, it's not sharp. It's got more balance to it. Definitely a little bit of creaminess in there, and a nice mineral finish. I like that one. And Catherine Weil likes it too. And this is her second party of the day. I saw her yesterday at the wine store, and she's coming from a block party and now here. Catherine, way to go, way to double fist it. Thanks for being here, you and Mike. So cool. Jamie, I'm going to bring you back in, and you're going to tell us a little bit more about the swag and how much of it you've got to sell. And I'm going to actually unmute myself. This way you can, we're not going to get any blowback.
Sounds good. It's nice to have Hank on mute once in a while. I'm just kidding, Hank. Thank you so much again for helping out. And again, just to read, you have your all access. It's good to see. I actually have my all access right here too. It's actually connected to the wall, but yeah, see, I have mine too. Anyway, just want to reiterate, we have our new shirt. We don't have a lot. We didn't order as many as we do for our normal year. So if you really want one, order one now. We're still pretty well stocked in all sizes, maybe fewer in medium. So if you want a medium, order it now. And again, the face mask, they're very comfortable. And they're 3-layer, so there's pretty good protection there. And the thermos is here. Like I said, mine's a little beat up, but I use it every day, and it keeps everything cold for a long time. So pick one up. It's well worth the money. Thanks again, Hank.
Okay, Jamie, I unmuted myself. I'm going to take you off screen. And wait, go ahead. There, go ahead. Go. Drink up. Go ahead. There you go. That's the Jamie Ross I know. So very first video, by the way, I did with Jamie many years ago. He had a little talk show that he did, and we did a wine tasting and talk. And you were using green screen, Jamie, before anyone else was using it. And sure enough, as we're sitting there talking, Jamie found it much more comfortable to drink out of the bottle. So he's been drinking this way for many years. This is not something new. So all right. You're off the screen for now. Okay. Here's a couple questions. So people have asked about the cheeses. This is not a wine and cheese pairing. And that's a good segue into thanking some of the businesses. First, my monthly partner for these tastings is Village Wine Shop. And those guys have been fantastic. And I'm so impressed with their degree of service. I'm impressed with, they've been very open to me bringing in wines that you're not necessarily going to find everywhere else. These wines that we're having are very limited supply. They themselves are carrying similar type wines. They're even starting to carry natural and biodynamic wines more and more. So you can find something there for everybody's palate, I think. And Maplewood Wheelhouse, Aaron Kurtz. Aaron and I actually started doing some videos today recently too. We're going to do a couple more this week. It's Hank and Aaron for all you baseball fans out there. So what we decided was not to actually do a specific pairing, but just to give you some basic pairing principles, if you've got something that's creamier, if you got something that's goat-based, I would actually have that with the Sauvignon Blanc. That is one of the most classic wine and cheese pairings, Sauvignon Blanc and goat cheeses. And then as the cheeses get harder, I would go with the with the reds as well. So very basic principle of cheese and wine pairing. I was trying to get Aaron in here today, but he was actually away for the day, so I couldn't bring him on board to talk a little bit more. But we're going to collaborate more on things. He has really a remarkable palate and represents some of the best boutique cheese producers domestically. He's also distributing charcuterie and other accoutrements. And was really impressed from the first time I met him and talked to him and got to taste through some of the stuff that's in his cheese portfolio. And he really is a distributor, but he has his retail operation up in the Maplewood Cooperative General Store up on Springfield Avenue. So you're able to actually buy retail from him, stuff that really he's just distributing to some really fine cheese shops, and also good guy to support and really great addition to the community. So again, thank you, Village Wine Shop. Thank you, Aaron, Maplewood Wheelhouse. I will also say this, the wines tonight, if you like them, we're going to make them available for repurchase. And we'll send information out about that in the next day or two. So they will have to be reordered. You could do that through the store. Again, these wines are pretty limited. For example, I know there's only about 25 cases of the Slow Jams Sauvignon Blanc left in the pipeline. These are not places that are producing hundreds of thousands of cases of wine. And I also know that the last red that we have is about 20 more cases only coming into New Jersey in the next week and a half. That's a winery there that makes only 5,000 cases of wine altogether. Some of these big mass producers, like what's that one people seem to like, Omeo Mayo, they probably spill 5,000 cases in a year. So these are true craft people and artisans. So before we move on to the next red wine, I'm gonna say after we have that red wine, this is a auction item. We're gonna do a live auction. And I don't know if you can make that label out because of my light, but it is GTS Seaver Vineyards. For all you baseball fans out there, you remember Cincinnati Reds, White Sox great Tom Seaver, who passed away recently, Hall of Famer, one of the greatest pitchers of all time, one of the greatest New York sports figures of all time. I know Mets fans are getting up in arms right now. And Tom Seaver, later in his life, really committed himself to making wine, really high-level quality wine. Again, this is not a celebrity who lent his name to a winery, but a person who bought like one of the most select pieces of property in Napa Valley, Diamond Mountain, and coincidentally, Diamond Mountain, him as a baseball player and Hall of Famer, and was making 95 point plus Cabernets and only about 400 to 450 to 550 cases a year, 400 to 550. This was donated by Danny Goldstein, a longtime Maplewoodian who is a true friend of Maplewoodstock, and he wanted to donate this. He's the official photographer for Maplewoodstock every year. He's that sweaty guy you see with the camera down by the front of the stage and posts literally thousands of pictures. So even though he doesn't drink, he collects this wine. And he donated this bottle. Jean Marie, that's a great opening bid. I will come back to you after we have the second wine, and that's when I'll do the auction for this. All the proceeds, 100% from the auction of that bottle, goes to Maplewoodstock, and I'll give you more details on it afterward. But next, second wine, first red wine, the Rapillo Rosso. So one of the reasons I picked this wine, if you can see that label, you have it in front of you, was, I looked at this picture and I said, this looks like your typical Maplewood guy at Maplewoodstock, kind of hipster hat, little on the larger side, and red Solo cup in his hand. So I said, I think this kind of fits in with our theme. So So that was one of the reasons why I chose it. Another reason why I chose it was because it's an interesting story and a really interesting wine. This would be considered a natural wine. It's a biodynamic fruit, and what the biodynamic means, think of it as like feng shui for the vineyard. Follows lots of old agricultural practices, and you actually have to get certified to be biodynamic, just as you have to be certified to be organic. It's like organic plus plus, and it's from Lazio in Italy, and that is the region of Italy where Rome is, and it's from a grape called Cesanese. Cesanese is native there. It was probably grown by the Etruscans before the Romans came in and sort of wiped them out, so to speak. So it's been, I think the earliest record of Cesanese goes back to, written record goes back to 133 BC, I believe, was the number that I read. And but what's pretty cool about this is there's a music tie-in too. So back in February, I went to the WFMU, which is a radio station that I support, and a really cool radio station at that. I went to the WFMU. It was a natural wine fair at the radio station, and it was put together by Chris Leo, who's the owner of Maritime Republic Wine Importers. And Chris is a musician. Chris has toured all throughout Europe and had lots of contact in Italy, and he decided to actually become a wine importer, and he really focuses mostly on Italian, not 100%, but mostly on Italian and natural wines. And a lot of the people he's met along the way in the wine business is actually are actually former musicians too. And he said the enologist that works on this wine he met in the the punk rock scene in the 2000s, early 2000s in Italy, and even the artists that do the labels. Are people that he's met through the music world. And I really got to know Chris before I met him at the Natural Wine Fair on an actual radio interview where he did a takeover with one of the DJs and talked about natural wine and talked about music and spun his favorite songs. And why would the artist have to be somebody he knew? Because this wine was never bottled for retail. If you drive out of Rome and you get into the hills and mountains where the Etruscans lived, and there were still like Etruscan grave sites and all, and burial sites, these grapes grow in the mountains, and they don't bottle them retail. People drive by in the country and they get their bottles and their jugs filled up with these wines. So when Chris approached them to import the wine, it was the first time they actually bottled their wines ahead of time for retail, as opposed to people just kind of passing through, and as opposed to what they normally have done is people just kind of passing through and filling up their jugs, which is the way a lot of people buy wine in Europe. So this is what you would have. This is the kind of wine that when people say, Hank, I was in Italy, I was in Spain, I was in Germany, I was in France, and I drank the local wine, and it tasted really fresh and easy, and I didn't get a hangover. And this is that type of wine. It's just made naturally. It's fresh, biodynamic fruit, no oak, really ripe fruit kind of taste, even a little bit of a hint of a fizz to it. This isn't a sparkling wine, but still has a little bit of carbon dioxide in there, a little bit of a fizz that adds some acidity. Alan, I see you posted a comment. Southridge up in the Hudson Valley is all natural. I do know him. I've been up there. People think that, Hudson Valley, what kind of wine's being made up there? There's some excellent wine being made up in the Hudson Valley. Wild Ark Farm is setting a trend now that's being followed by wineries around the country. Fjord Winery is owned by this great young couple who I love to death. And they've got great little kids, and they're making some fantastic wines up there too. I'm not proselytizing when I say this. One of the reasons why they're able to make really good wine now in the Finger Lakes, in the Finger Lakes too, but in the Hudson Valley, in colder regions, some of the hottest wineries in the country now are in Vermont, is because of climate change. Climate change is real. It's not just something that's transpired over decades, but it's actually happening day to day now, as we see in California. If you want a really good assessment from a winemaker, from a winery, Tablas Creek Winery, Tablas Creek in Central California. Their blog outlined really amazingly how the different aspects of climate change has affected the growing season. You all know some of you know the very first tasting that I did back in May was for an event called Open Local Wine Night. And I did a tasting of Beneducci Vineyards wines. Mike Beneducci, up until recently, had lived in Maplewood, makes wine out in Pittstown, New Jersey, is an excellent winemaker. And this was third week of May. I think it was right before Memorial Day. And some of you might remember, we got our season, there's lots of things to remember. It's been a crazy year. But we got our season off to a slow start. It was pretty cold in April into May. And we had that first weekend of May where it was kind of right around freezing here. Well, that right around freezing here in Maplewood, South Orange, Essex County equated to high 20s, high winds in western New Jersey and up through the Hudson Valley. And here's what happens with that. Because our springs have generally been so mild, a lot of the vines have bud break already, but that doesn't protect them from late seasonal frost. And this was an especially late seasonal frost that came in and actually wiped out 50% of the grapes even before the season actually started, even before the grapes actually formed. So it's that is a big impact that climate change is having on winemaking around the world. That springs are starting winters are so mild and springs are starting so early, but they're still not protected from what were normal late frosts, and it's really wiped out grapes almost every year, and even some of the finest wine regions in the world. So, but if you look at the Tablas Creek site, it'll give you an excellent rundown on their blog about what's actually been happening from a climate change standpoint in the West Coast, and why these fires are not just killing people and decimating properties and vineyards, but how it's going to have an impact for years to come because of the smoke and how it's people have to change. So anyway, enough of that. That's why they're making really good wine in places that you didn't think they can make good wine. Anyhow, back to this grape, Cesanese. Again, it's probably over a couple thousand years old. A grape that was in decline because people didn't think you could make a nice wine, even though this is a wine that a lot of the local producers are selling off to the wine bars and bistros for house wines as well in Rome. So if you've been sitting in a cafe in Rome in past years and you drank a house red that was from Lazio, it was probably a Cesanese. All right, questions. I should check my phone. Oh, I have a text. Hi, Hank. Watching for the first time tonight. Never use Facebook Live. How do we comment? Thanks, Richie and Tammy. Hi, Richie and Tammy. You can just type a comment in and it should show up on my screen. Or you can just send me a text here because I'm reading it, and I can get it this way as well. So whatever works for you. Jennifer, you like that little bit of fizz action in the wine? I think it is nice, but nice thing about it is it actually tames down a little bit, so it doesn't quite stay there. So thank you, Nancy. It is a nice wine. I can't take credit for having made it myself, but it is. These are nice wines. For those of you who've been doing this every month, and there are a number of you out there, and I do appreciate you greatly, let the other folks know that the wines generally are really good every month. So thanks. All right. Business, a little bit of business. Tonight would have been the Saturday night of Maplewoodstock. And one of the things I ask people to do is, after we wrap up here, which we're not ready to wrap up here yet, is to, kind of continue a celebration of music. My friend Mark Lowney was just written up in the past couple of weeks, I think it was, in the Village Green. And Mark has been doing, since the beginning of the pandemic, almost every Saturday night a live show from his porch or his patio, from his home. And he'll be starting again at 8 o'clock. If you don't know who Mark Lowney is, that's how his name is spelled. Just like what I've been doing, he's making his Facebook Live open to the public. And he even knew that I told him that I was actually going to try to tell people, if they want to actually get a little live music in online, to go to his Facebook page. I'll put his name up there again. Mark Lowney, good guy. He's in a couple of local bands. He has played Maple Woodstock a number of times, and he has actually been working on some wine-related songs this week. So, and he asked me to text him when I was ready to wrap up because he didn't want to do the wine-related songs until some of the wine people came over his way. Look at that little scrolly thing I have right at the bottom of the screen. That little scrolly thing will tell you about where to go and where to go and get your Maple Woodstock swag. T-shirts, $20, masks, $15, and thermoses, $30. That's on the Maple Woodstock website. There's my phone number if you want to text me or call me. There's my Venmo. Whatever you contribute to me for Venmo tonight, because I don't get paid for this, the proceeds from this, your $70 goes to the wine store and it goes to Maple Woodstock. So if you want to do a Venmo, I will split that 50-50 with Maple Woodstock tonight too. And here's another text. Okay, let's see. Oh, there's lots of texts here. Love the red. Can you tell us a bit more about it? So is this the Chesanese? Someone would like to know more about it. Also, could we talk to Jamie about recruiting Kev Mo for Maple Woodstock? Jamie, can you try to get Kev Mo for Maple Woodstock? So my little story is one of the nice things about my All Access Pass is that the year we had Raul Malo, I had a couple of Shiner box and I went backstage with my All Access Pass and I said, hey, Raul, how's about a Shiner? And he's like, yeah, man, that'd be great. So Raul and I had a Shiner. And then after the show, I went back, hey, Raul, how's about another Shiner? And he's like, yeah, that's great. So it wasn't wine, it was beer. Jamie, I want you to come in for a second and I'm going to actually bring you on screen. I'm going to mute myself for a moment because I would like you to mention who your Maple Woodstock committee fellow members and memberettes are.
Okay. First of all, if anyone wants Kev Mo, if you would like to go to maplewoodstock.com and hit the donate button, just donate 50,000, and we could try and make that happen. So that's my answer for that one. The Maple Woodstock committee is made up of Tom Kearns, who just posted there. We have Kevin Chandler, Katie Clayton, Tarquin Learned, Jim Robertson, Gary Shippey, and Kerry Miller, and Susan Rogers, who's my neighbor right next door here. And all of us have our own part. We take care of our special section of the festival to make it run smoothly. And so far, it's been a good team. So, yeah, that's that. You have to unmute yourself. One of us has to unmute, Hank.
Okay, I am back. I'm going to answer a few texts. I got a few texts. First text. So you got the so that answers the Kev Mo question, and yes, that does mean the stones are out. So just so you know. Next question is about the cheeses. Again, as I mentioned earlier, we're not technically pairing the wine and the cheese, but as I like to go from lighter to heavier or lighter bodied to fuller bodied when I do a wine tasting with the Sauvignon Blanc, the lighter red, and then the next red will be a little fuller bodied. We should do the same things with the cheese too. When I do any kind of food pairing, the best way to pair stuff is by mouthfeel, by weight. Light-bodied wine with light-bodied food, and medium-bodied, full-bodied. Sauvignon Blanc, light-bodied, goes great with anything that's goat cheese, creamy, kind of lighter cheeses that have more tang to them, more acidity to them, just as that wine does. The Chesanese's got a little bit of earthiness to it. Also has a little bit of fizz, and that fizz, as I mentioned earlier, is a little bit of leftover carbon dioxide. It's not so much of a fizz that you could call it a sparkling wine or a pet nat at all, but because it's a natural wine, they probably bottle it before the fermentation is totally completed, and you get just a little light fizz, which adds to a little bit of almost an acidity feeling, which makes it go great with food. If you have a cheese that's got a little bit of earthiness to it, I think that's I think that's great to pair with it. And then the last wine that we have is, and I'll get into that in a little while, is going to be whatever hard cheese that you have in your box. So that is basic pairing principles. So and I got one more text in here. Slow Jam's a super funky, redolent of my baby's dirty diaper. I love it. Okay, maybe you're changing a little too many diapers these days, but I'm glad you love it, and I'm glad people love the wine so far and being here. Anthony Ewing, I'm glad you love the broadcast. Hello to your whole family. It's really good to see you. Anthony lives in Maplewood. You should look at his website, ethnicnj.com, if you want to know where to eat any type of ethnic food from all over the world, but in the state of New Jersey. So there is. I'm happy to give a little bit of plug because it's an amazing website that actually was featured in Savoir magazine a few years back. So pretty cool. So I think I've answered all the questions so far. So we'll take more in a moment. Before we get to the next wine, I want to do the auction. Again, this is the GTS Vineyards, Tom Seaver Vineyards wine. Tom Seaver, who passed away recently, Hall of Famer, one of the greatest New York sports icons, American sports icons of all time. And he didn't just make wine, he made amazing wine. He made two kinds of wines, only about 400 to 550 cases of wine a year. And, and it basically, you can't buy this stuff retail. It was really distributed to people on the mailing list. And I did look online out of curiosity since he passed away to see what the 2017 Cabernet, which one person gave a 97-point rating to. It was $135 a bottle, $135 a bottle on release to the club members. And since he's died, as you might imagine, the prices have gone up. One wine store must have bought it from somebody downtown, Fidei Wines, Financial District Wines, and they're selling the bottle for $4.99, and that's not $4.99. And one of the auction houses has it for $720 a bottle. So this is a collectible, I guess, but it's also a really great wine. And for all you baseball fans out there, you see that? I know Steve Crane's tuning in, and I know he's a Bob Gibson fan. He's a big St. Louis Cardinals fan, and Bob Gibson passed away, and I know that was one of Tom Seaver's really peers and contemporaries. And hi, Janet. I know you're with Steve too, drinking. So I'm glad you're having a great time. So I want to actually do the auction for this because this is donated by Danny Goldstein, official photographer and person who sweats probably more than anyone at Maplewoodstock and posts thousands of pictures every year. He donated this from his collection. You cannot go out and buy this at Total Wine. And again, the prices have gone through the roof after Tom Seaver died. Amazing how that stuff happens. I got an opening bid from somebody for $150. I think that was from Jean Marie Hargrave. So I'm going to do this auction right now before we get to the next wine. I've got a bid for $150, but I really should go for more than $150. Do we have another bid for this? I would hate to let this wine go for basically what the club members got it for, especially in light of the fact that it's $499 at Fidei wine stores, and you cannot go out and buy this anywhere else online. Google it. Go to Google right now. You'll see there are no two sources were the only ones that I found on this. So 200. Thank you, Vivian. Vivian K. West bid 200. Okay, so we're going to do it right here on the screen. So if you want to pump it in, or if you even want to text me, 917-414-8957. Lisa, thank you for saying that Kelly is bidding 155, but we have a bid for 200 now. So 200 is the prevailing bid. 200 is the prevailing bid right now, and that's from Vivian. T. Meyer, we already got a 200, so you're gonna have to go higher. I already have a 200 on this. Again, you can text me or you can post it online. 225 from T. Meyer. Excellent. Thank you, T. 225. Anthony, you're welcome for the ethnicnj.com shout out because I give shout outs to people who deserve them, and your site's fantastic. I got 225 from T. Meyer 7225. Do I have anything higher than 225? $4.99 this bottle is going for. $4.99 at Fidei Wines, and that's the only place I've seen it listed. Again, this is not some Tom Seaver. There's great stories out there about him. When he bought this vineyard, he actually worked the vineyard. He $250 from Vivian. Thank you, Vivian. That's $250 for the bottle of wine. Tom Seaver isn't like Brad and Angelina, who is making who make their rosé, or Bon Jersey, who had the nerve to name a rosé after the Hamptons, even though he's from New Jersey. These people don't make the wine; they just kind of stick their name to it. Tom Seaver, true boutique producer, Diamond Mountain District. And here's the other thing too: Napa is burning, and some of the most famed vineyards just this past week have been destroyed, or at least have lost all their fruit for this season. But Kane, who makes one of the best Cabernets in the world, lost all their 2019 and 2020 wines. And just something to keep in mind. It's, let's see, I have a 250, 275. I have two 275s here. One from T. Meyer and one from Tom Kearns. So since T. Myers came in first, they're the first one on my screen. So we're up to 275. We're up to 275 for this wine. Again, every single dollar of this goes to Maplewoodstock, and whoever gets it gets the entire bottle. I promise not to open it because I wouldn't want to ruin that. Look at that. Isn't that pretty cool foil with the stitches from the baseball right there too? But here's the other thing. It's really fantastic wine. So I've got 275 from T. Meyer right now. Do I have anything higher? I've got 275. I would like to get on to the next wine. So 275 for T. Meyer going once, 275 for T. Meyer going twice, 300 for Lawrence Lipkin. Thank you, Lawrence. That's 300 for the Tom Seaver wine. Fantastic. Again, every dime goes to Maplewoodstock. We want to hit the ground running next year for Maplewoodstock. It's going to be better than ever. It's a festival that we're going to need next year. We're going to really want it, and I think it's going to be an amazing celebration. And again, helping them to defray some of the costs they incurred this year will allow them to get planning with a clean slate for next year. 300 going once for Lawrence Lipkin, 300 going twice. Any more? Lawrence Lipkin, it is your wine for $300. Thank you. Thank you very much. Send me a private message, and we'll figure out how to get that to you. And I'll give you the information on how to give the money to the folks at Maplewoodstock. Thanks. That feels good. Jamie, why don't you come in here for a second, Jamie?
Hey.
What are you eating?
The cheese.
Oh.
Actually, yeah, and I've had the dry down persimmons.
Excellent.
Those things are good. The crackers are good. The cheese is good. I did not get the goat balls, as someone said. So, the cheese is fantastic. So thank you to the Wheelhouse. And thank you everyone who's we do have some face masks sold. And yeah. And the thermos, Richard, you're gonna love the thermos. Yeah. And some t-shirts. So we have a little of everything sold. That is amazing. And Kristen, your face masks will be coming soon. And I did check out Kevin Mo. He was on our radar, but he is around 40K. But if you do have an idea, we're always open to listen to who you have in mind, and we will certainly check them out. And it's always a matter of getting someone who's the right price, but not only that, is that we can't have someone who's going to overpack the field. So it's kind of a balance there to keep it on the old field and get someone that everyone knows. Yeah.
Thanks, Jamie.
All right. Thank you, Hank.
So this is pretty cool. Thank you. Thank you so much. Again, just a little bit, go to the Maplewoodstock merch page, and you can buy some of these things. You know, you don't want them being stored in Jamie's place until next year. And besides, next year they'll say 2020, and they'll have to put a piece of like masking tape over it that looks like a number one. So you know, try to help them defray their costs. Thank you too for everyone participating tonight. This is fantastic. Like I said, by my estimate, there's probably a couple hundred people or more who are tuning in right now. The next, and what I've been doing is I've been picking a different community group every month to partner with, and coming up with a different theme. The next event for November, you may have seen it on the scroll, is actually we're going county-wide on this one. It's going to be a Thursday night, November 12th, and my community partner is going to be Mend. Mend is is run by Robin Peacock, who lives here in the community, and other community folks are on the committee there. Mend is a network of faith-based food pantries and soup kitchens in Essex County, over 20 of them, of which the St. Joe's and Our Lady of Sorrows food pantries are members. And just to give you a small indication of the demand right now of what's happening, Our Lady of Sorrows food pantry, which is usually served 125 to 150 families on average, which is an unconscionable number, to be honest, is now serving about 450 or close to 425 to 450 families now when they give out food, which is almost triply unconscionable, if there's such a thing. So it'll be on a Thursday night. It'll be for Mend, and it'll be a similar format. It'll be 3 bottles of wine. I think we're going to have Maplewood Wheelhouse involved again. The details are going to come out really soon. It's going to be county-wide, and again, proceeds go to the organization that I partner with. If you have any ideas of any other organizations as I move forward in other months, I'd be happy to do it. And talk to you about trying to figure something out. My next online tasting is on October 24th, and that's going to be on Instagram Live, I believe, or it might be in a different format. But if you want to know, follow me on Facebook, follow me on Instagram Live, The Grapes Unwrapped, on Twitter, Grapes Unwrapped, on my YouTube page. This is for the Paris Review. My friend Valerie Stivers writes a food and literature column called Eat Your Words, and I'm her wine and spirits guide. And she's working on a column for on a Taiwanese author by the name of Kui Mijin. And it's and in her article, it's going to be pairing a wine with in this case Taiwanese soups, and we're going to actually focus on Rieslings. We're going to talk about the book, going to talk about the author, and we're actually going to talk about the food that she prepares for the column, and it's and also what wine goes great with Asian food. And we're going to focus on Rieslings. That's a little bit different format. That's open to everybody, and we just tell you to go out and grab a wine for it and kind of join in on the conversation. And it's going to be Rieslings from anywhere. So get on your radar. I'm also trying to set a date with Sunil Kumar, better known as Sunny's Kitchen, where we're going to do a virtual wine and Indian food dinner. Hopefully we'll do that sometime in November, perhaps December, and other events coming up as well. Again, follow me on social media so you can kind of keep up on these things. I don't think the Facebook algorithm gets the news out to everybody as much as it used to. So there's that. Okay, so we have another wine to talk about, don't we? No more texts. And Father's Watch is the next wine. So this is a pretty cool story. I had heard of Kivelstadt Cellars from California, had not tasted their wines, and one of the nice things about what I do is I get to taste wine for a living. And a good friend, Angela DeLuca Wright, who lives in West Orange, and those of you who were participating in the July event where I had the various women in wine coming in to speak, Angela being one of them, a local resident who happens to be in sales with boutique wineries. Angela came by, and we actually had a great conversation. She asked me to taste some wines from the portfolio, and I was really impressed with Kivelstadt. Kivelstadt is in California. They make about 5,000 cases of wine only a year. The story about Jordan Kivelstadt is he's a Tufts grad engineer who really got the wine bug, started traveling the world to try to learn more about wine. And in 2007, made his first wines, very limited amount, like something again like 90 to 100 cases of wine to start off. And also is in the business of promoting wine on tap, which is a great thing. And I have to admit, having consulted with the Maplewoodstock beer and wine garden folks for a number of years, and having gotten wine for them for a number of years, I've often told them to consider trying to get wine on tap because it's easy and it's more sustainable, less for recycling and better pricing. So Jordan Kivelstadt started off in this business and it now makes wine as well, about 5,000 cases of wine, beautiful labels on his wines and beautiful wines as well. He does have one wine that was a sort of a music themed name called Wayward Son, but I don't think we need to be celebrating Kansas right now. And but I got to taste these wines on my front porch just the other day, and there was another wine that I want to, and give you a little background on how this stuff works. I come up with a theme, and I talk to my distributors, and I talk with the good folks over at the Village Wine Shop, and we try to come up with wines that are good that you can't just find anywhere else. But part of the problem with that is then finding enough of them for all of you out there. So, and the other thing we try to do too is wait as long as possible, because believe it or not, you might not believe this, but some people do like to do like RSVP late or jump in late for things. So we try to wait as long as possible for placing orders, so to get more of you involved, and also we get best pricing the more people are involved too. But also, again, I try to find wines and research wines that you can't just find everywhere, and that are in limited release. So one of the cool things about Kivelstadt does as well too, if you went to their tasting room in I believe in California, they have a great food program there too. One of the top chefs from the Valley is there. But if you want to do a tasting, they don't pour from bottles. They take the wine directly from the barrel, so they don't keep accumulating empty bottles. And there's better pricing if you bring your own growler to fill up the wine rather than buying the bottles to go. So I think that's a pretty cool thing from a sustainability standpoint. So this wine I think is really, really cool because it's almost like a classic Côte de Rhône blend. It's Syrah. It is, I think, Grenache, and I also think it's Carignan is the other grape in there. I gotta just check that because, as some of you might have realized, I don't use notes. I just sort of keep talking. So yes, Syrah, Grenache, and Carignan almost in equal amounts, roughly about a third of each. This definitely has some oak. You can almost smell it right there when you put your nose in there. It's been about a year of barrel aging. But it's, I think, a really pretty wine, has some great clarity. Really nice mouthful of flavor, really good fruit. A lot of times when people describe wines, red wines, I should say, they break it down to two categories: red fruit and black fruit. So and that's a good descriptor if you're trying to kind of get an idea of how to explain what to somebody, like in a wine store or a restaurant, what kind of wine that you like. I did a story with Valerie Stivers that was in Food 52 last month on basically how to get a better understanding of wines that you like and how to better articulate that. And actually, our next article that we're working on that's going in this week is how long you can hold on to open wine. I know that it's the internet meme now that there's no such thing as leftover wine, but believe it or not, there is. And this is how to actually make sure that it stays good for a long time. So anyway, it's good to get some idea of descriptors. You don't need to give all kinds of crazy words and secondary flavors and tertiary flavors. But just a good understanding is it tastes like red fruit, it tastes like black fruit. Grenache tends to be red fruit, Syrah tends to be black fruit. Sometimes in a really good wine, you get both of those flavors in there. Nancy, why don't you taste the oak there? Because it probably isn't like toasty oak. It's probably not new oak, but it might be old oak or what they call neutral oak. So you get the benefit of the mouthfeel from the oak, but you don't get that vanilla kind of flavor on top of it as much as you do in a lot of California wines. These are the Kivelstadt wines, and he only makes 5,000 cases a year. The Kivelstadt wines all happen to be organic as well. And what he's trying to do is bring back more balanced winemaking to California wines. He's even using some pretty old vineyard spaces. The Carignan that he uses for this wine, he does a wine that's all Carignan, it comes from 130-year-old vines. So, which I think is a pretty cool thing. I got more text. Let's see what people want here. Ooh, there's all kinds of messages here. All right. I think we're all good. Okay. So anyway, so this is almost like would be similar to a Cote de Rhone with a little bit of California style in there. Michelle says this is her favorite of the 3 wines tonight. And you know what? That's the beauty of tasting wine. And Michelle, again, thank you, because you and Joe have been supporters of mine for a long time too. And I know you came all the way in from Summit to pick up your wine. So thank you. But that's the beauty of wine, right? There's as I like to tell people, there's no wrong answer except for white Zinfandel. So it's all a matter of personal taste and whatever your palate wants and likes, and that happens at different times. For example, any of these wines will taste maybe really good to you up front, or they might not taste as good to you, but if you have them with cheese or something to eat, it changes the flavor profile on it too. So you know, that's another thing about wine too. It's such a fun kind of changeable thing. But to me, the very absolute most fun thing about wine is that here we are tonight. We've got over 200 people tuning in over 50 different groups all around the community. There's folks down the shore. There's folks in Cape May. There's folks in Summit. They're all over the place right now. And what this is we've got this really nice umbrella of a social event that's pulled a lot of people together. And also everyone is doing their own little small social gaggles, if you will, which is a fantastic thing. Tom Kern says he likes white Zinfandel, and I know you do, Tom, because it is you probably have it with Twinkies, if I'm not mistaken. So wow, this is pretty cool. So Josh Adler tells me that the father's watch is his dad's birth year, 1938, and that's the other thing you'll find interesting is that on the front label of your father's watch, those bottles are numbered. Mine's bottle number 2008. Now that's not the year. That's the actual bottle number. So just to show you how few that they make, one of the sample bottles I tasted the other day was number 0008, which I think is a pretty cool thing too. So I think that's great. Thanks for telling me that. Someone asks, is this a little sweet? So that was one of the things I talk about in that Food 52 article. If you look for it online and you know, just search for my name and the articles will pop up. Someone says, is this a little sweet? So wine is made from fruit. There is going to be sugar in it. Fruit has sugar in it, but I wouldn't call this wine a sweet wine. What you're actually tasting is, you know, because it comes from a warmer climate, the fruit's going to taste riper. And I think when you get fruit that is riper tasting and you have a little bit higher alcohol, and again, this isn't overly ripe and jammy like a lot of California wines. I'm going to say that the alcohol content is probably 14.5%. Let me see if I can see it on the bottle. Actually, it's even less. It's 13.23%, which is pretty amazing. So he's a really good winemaker. He's extracting a lot of flavor from that wine at not a high alcohol percent. And you might say, well, what does the alcohol percent have to do with it? The higher the alcohol, the richer the wine, the greater the mouthfeel, and usually the riper the fruit. Lower alcohol wines, like you know, think of a sparkling wine, think of a Pinot Grigio, probably come in around 11-12% alcohol. They tend to be more acidic, more citrusy. Higher alcohol wines will have a bigger mouthfeel. Alcohol actually is kind of like a fat. Think about eating a corn muffin without butter, and think about eating a corn muffin with a big slab of butter on it too. And that's what alcohol is. Alcohol kind of is like the butter on your corn muffin. So it gives a richer taste, more of a fuller mouthfeel, and you're going to taste more ripeness out of that fruit because the higher alcohol comes from the warmer climate. Hope that answers your question. All right. Does it answer your question? Let's see. Okay. So you love the facts. Thank you, Crystal. Well, by the way, one of the things Jamie's doing, Jamie said he was going to actually be fact checking me. So he's going to put it up online. Anything I said that was false tonight. So go and check Jamie's on the Maplewoodstock Facebook page. He's going to do a whole fact check, and then we'll have an idea for you know, if what I've said is false. Like I said, I've got no notes around here. I just kind of talk about this stuff. I answer your questions, and which is kind of fun to do. And I hope you're all having a good time out there. Nancy, I'm glad you love all three of those wines. Thank you for participating. We appreciate it. And Crystal, I love that you love facts. I love a fact-based scientific world myself. Hey, by the way, I'm going to say it one more time. I'm not showing off my guns here because I really don't have any, but got my flu shot today. I think you all should do it too. There you go. Also, when we wrap up here, I'm going to put his name up there one more time. Mark Lowney, my friend, your friend. Mark has been doing a weekly Saturday night concert, and from his patio, from his porch. And since the pandemic started, and he's just a good guy. He's played Maplewoodstock a number of times, and so when we wrap up here, he's actually starting around now. But he said I'm gonna text him. He wants to save the wine songs that he's been working on all week. I don't think it's 100 bottles of wine on the wall, but he said he was working up a few of them. So anyway, that's where we're at. Jamie, would you like to come back? You have a point. Jamie has a point to make. Okay, let me get Jamie back. You can unmute yourself, Jamie, and I'll get you back on screen. There you go.
Okay. One thing I totally forgot to mention, which I think is a very cool feature about when you order something, is that we're throwing in for free, no additional cost, a Maplewoodstock bag. See that? So look out for this. With your order, your merchandise, your t-shirts, your thermos, everything will be hanging on your door in this bag. So that's all I wanted to show. And again, I wanted to thank Hank and everyone for participating. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Jamie. So so I have my all access badge. And I'm actually not going to auction it off, but if someone wants to give me $500 for the all access badge right now, $500 to Maplewoodstock, you can have my all access badge, but not for a penny less. So just I'm going to give you a couple of minutes to mull that over. I've got another couple of texts here. Somebody said this was terrific and they really needed this tonight. Well, thank you. And I appreciate you guys being here. Is Jamie Canadian? That was a question that came up. Is Jamie Canadian? He is not Canadian, but I think he's from the northern part of Maplewood, South Orange originally. So that's where you might kind of get that Canadian thing going right there. Jamie, are you Canadian?
Not that I know
of. Okay. That's a great question. No, Steve, not $4.99, not $4.99, but for $500, someone can have my all access badge. Here we go. My all access badge, $500. No? Okay. Going once, going twice. It's mine. All right. Any last questions? So I hope you're all having a good time. Oh, the texts are coming in now. Is Hank from Staten Island? Do I sound like her from Staten Island? Yes, I am. I was actually born and bred in Staten Island. So one of the reasons why I have such a love for agriculture is that my family were gentlemen farmers. They moved. They moved to Staten Island from what are now happening parts of Manhattan that weren't happening back then, when my ancestors emigrated from Italy and from Ireland and from France, from Alsace-Lorraine, and they actually farmed. They farmed pieces of land in Staten Island to make it through the Depression and World War II. Which I will say this: knowing my family's history, it's important to remember history, isn't it? And I know these past 6 months have been awful. They've been tragic for a lot of people, but we're fortunate that so far it's just 6 months and not the 10, 15 years that a lot of our families went through as they came to this country, made it through the Depression and World War II back to back pretty much. So I appreciate having that family history and knowing it and reminding it. So it's helped me tremendously. Let me see what I have here. As a Canadian, so Jamie, this is the deal here, Jamie. So it was a Canadian who wondered if you were Canadian, eh?
Oh, okay,
Oh, now they're attributing it to possibly having had too much to drink. So anyway. Next, yes, Tom Kearns is saying, don't forget to log into Mark Lowney and his live concert. Once I wrap up in a few minutes, I will tell Mark he can start doing his wine songs. Nancy, what's going to happen to the Napa Valley wineries? Well, you know, it's a big place, and there are wineries that are totally untouched by what's happening, and there are wineries that have been totally wiped out by what's happening. So, but in addition to the tragic loss of life and of property, and wineries actually burning down, some of the most premier wineries in Napa. And this isn't over yet, by the way. You know, this is what's scary about it. And again, I want people to go to that Tablas Creek article if they can, or blog on their website, and explains what's happening here. There are not just fires happening, but 6 of the 10 biggest fires in the history of California are happening right now. You know, there's just so much, well, I'll use the technical phrase, there's just so much shit going on in the world right now in the country that we kind of lose stuff out of the news cycle pretty quickly. And it's just awful what's happening out there, and it's not remedying itself anytime soon. And it doesn't go away just because you rake the forest floor, as someone may have suggested. This is significant change. And just to give you an idea how it impacts, and I can give you the perspective of how it impacts grape growing and winemaking, because these are the people I speak to around the world all the time. But that is agriculture. So if it's affecting grape growing and winemaking, it's affecting all of the stuff that is being grown. Bordeaux has only allowed 5 specific grapes to be grown to make red wine for centuries. They now are allowing the planting of 9 new grapes. And when I say new, grapes that are new to Bordeaux, and they tend to be mostly Portuguese grapes and grapes from other regions that tend to be more mold and rot and drought resistant. And why are they doing that? Because they understand that in another 30, 40 years, their climate is going to change so much that they're not going to be able to make these expensive high-flight Bordeaux's from the grapes they're making them from now. It's going to be too hot for them to make Cabernet Sauvignon and Merlot and Cabernet Franc and these amazing blends in 30, 40 years. So they're wisely planning for that now. Here's another little factoid, not a factoid. In the past 25 years alone, the average grape harvest has been moved up 6 weeks. So 6 weeks earlier now, grapes are being harvested in everywhere, and that's like, we think of harvest as now, we think of it as October, we think of it as sweater weather, but a lot of regions have picked their grapes in late July and into August now. It's done. So it's not political, it's real. And that much I can tell you. I speak to winemakers around the world and grape growers around the world. So people might have a political opinion of climate change, but I will give you the agricultural opinion, and that is it's real, it's significant, and it's not even happening now over a course of decades, but it's happening day to day. So anyway, anything else? Let me just check my text one more time. I have, that's it. I think that's it. Thank you. Thank you so much. Again, my Venmo at Hank Zona, and I will split whatever you send to me, since the money you paid for the wine and the cheese goes to Village Wine Store Village Wine Shop and Maplewood Wheelhouse, and proceeds on top of that goes to Maplewoodstock. So anything I get in from Venmo, I will split 50-50 with Maplewoodstock. I appreciate you all being here. I love doing this stuff, especially those that come back all the time. And again, November 12th is going to be countywide, and it's a Thursday night. It's going to be for men. Please help me spread the word. I know the algorithms with Facebook and other social media just don't work as much. And and what I try to do with these events is raise some joy and raise some wine knowledge, and also raise some awareness and some money for whoever the community partner is. So I thank you all so much. Go over and see Mark Lowney. Tell him I sent you. request wine songs from him. Everybody, I love you. Thank you so much for participating. Thank you.
Thank you, Hank.
Hi, Jamie. Thank you. Thank you for the Maplewoodstock Committee for everything you guys do.
Anytime.
Cheers, folks. I'm out.